Hi! Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to prune a spring flowering clematis. Now, generally the rule with spring flowering clematis is that you don't prune them if they flower before June. So flower before June, don't prune. So why am I going to talk to you about this? Well, the clematis that I've got growing here is a really vigorous climber. So I have to prune it, otherwise it literally just takes over my entire garden. So you know me, I like to break the rules a little bit, but I do this every year and it still comes back, it still flowers with no problem. So I just thought if you've got one of these climbers that flowers before June and it's really taking over, it can be a bit of a thug and it can really cause frustration. So I want to show you how to deal with it. So basically, the reason you don't generally prune spring flowering clematis is because they flower on the growth from the previous year. So this growth that's being put on now, you can see like how kind of vast it is. Next spring, this is where the flowers will be. So with a lot of clematis that aren't quite so vigorous, if you chop all of this off, then you won't get any flowers. But a way to remedy this, if you do have to prune your clematis because it's so big and taking up so much space, is to make sure that you prune it straight after it's flowered. So this, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit late. This probably finished flowering a couple of weeks ago now. So it really is in need of a chop now. Otherwise, if I leave it much later, I will chop off all of the shoots that, and I won't get any flowers next spring. So if you have got one of these and you want to give this a go, then you kind of need to get on it maybe this weekend. Quite a nice job to do out in the sunshine though. So yeah, so I'm going to show you what to do in a minute. I will also just say that if you've got a really old clematis, so if you've got one of these, it's been in your garden for a few years, you've not touched it, it's got really out of control, and what will eventually happen is that it will only flower on the wood from the previous season. So you'll have lots of flowers at the ends of the growth, but nearer to the bottom of the plant you won't have any flowers. So that's a real sign that it needs a good old chop back. Now, what I have done with this plant in previous years, and I know it's a little bit scary, but I have chopped the entire thing back to 30 centimeters from the ground. So literally just chopped it off at the bottom and then just put all of this away because it had just got really out of control. I think it was the summer that I had my little girl and I didn't get around to doing it. And the next year it was just so out of control. So I chopped it right down at the bottom. Now, a word of warning, don't do this more than every 5 years or so, because if you do it every year, you'll just weaken the plant and it will really struggle to recover. But generally with this type of clematis, it is quite vigorous. So you can be quite tough on it. And certainly if it's got out of control, I would really advise chopping it off 30 centimeters from the base, and then it will start to grow again and you'll get flowers nearer the base again. If you are a little bit nervous, I completely get that. Maybe chop, say you've got 5 stems coming up from the ground, maybe chop 3 of them and leave 2. And then see what happened with those 3, because I can imagine they will re-sprout, and then the next year you can then chop the other 2 that you've left, and then they will re-sprout and everything will be regenerated and nice new growth covered in flowers right from the base of the plant, covering whatever it's growing up. So yeah, so that's a little tip if you've got a really old one. Now, what are you going to do and how are you going to prune it? Now, like I said, I'm going to be quite vicious with mine, but initially I'll show you where you would need to chop. Now, when I actually prune mine, I'm going to go right in deep here to prune it back. But just so you can see here, where you want to chop, you don't just kind of want to hack at it. You want to chop at where it's called a leaf join, basically. So it's where some leaves are sprouting out of the main stem. So I don't know if you can see that there, hopefully you can, just put that on back. So you can see there's a leaf. I'm just going to chop that there and then just get rid of that. But like I said, when I do this, I'm going to go right back into the plant there to really take it back as much as I can, because I've planted a lovely new rose just down here and you pretty much can't see it, and the clematis is starting to completely take it over. So I want it to get some sun and get a really good chance of a good growth in the first year. So I'm really gonna pull this back. So yeah, so I hope that's useful. As always, if you've got any comments or questions, then please do DM me, and I can hopefully give you a steer in the right direction. Before I get chopping, I'm just going to tell you about a giveaway that I'm running over on my grid. So you can head to the link in my bio to enter, and you can win a 1-month trial of my Mind in Bloom subscription box. So as well as a mindful gardening activity sent to you in the post, you will also get access to my exclusive Facebook group, where you have access to me as an online gardening coach. So any questions you have about your garden, you can take a photo, put it in the group, tag me in it, and I can give you some tips and advice on it. And then obviously, as you grow your plants or seeds or bulbs that you get as part of your mindful gardening activity, you can ask me loads of questions about that as well. So if you're relatively new to gardening and you really want somebody there to kind of you know, hold your hand effectively and give you a steer, then this is a really great prize. So head over to the link in my bio, enter, tag all your friends in the comments, and get sharing it on your stories. And I'm also giving everyone that enters and joins my email list, I am also giving a special prize too. So do head over and enter, and it would be great to have you in the Mind in Bloom box community. Anyway, on with the chop. See you later.